Yes, a couple of things. So the big one, I had a huge student loan. I had $90,000 in student loan. And this is something that as first generation students, Latinas going to college, they don't, no one talks about it. Of course, my mom didn't talk about it. She has a second grade education. So
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Say Hola Wealth Podcast. Estoy súper emocionada because today I have one of my clients coming to the show to share about her journey as a Latina, someone who wants to become financially free. And so I'm going to let her introduce herself to all of you. Martha, welcome.
hi, Lucy. Hola, hola. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I will say that now this is a full circle moment and I'll share more, but my financial independence journey started with you listening to your podcast exactly a year ago. So for you to bring me back, it's thank you. Thank you for that. So who I am, Martha González. I was born in Mexico. My mom brought me here when I was 14 years of age. She came here when in the 1980s. What does that mean? It means a lot. Started a new chapter in my life, a new journey, navigating, adjusting to this culture. First of all, the language, right? I came here, I didn't know the language. So first learning the language, starting a new education system, high school, which is completely different to where I was born. In Mexico, I grew up in a very small town, so no more than 100 kids. So I come here now, and I'm in a high school where there are over 1,000 kids. So adjusting to that was a huge thing. Adjusting to that. So yeah, the language, the culture, and also my family. I grew up with my grandmother in Mexico. So and then I come here. I reunite with my mom, and to me, she's a stranger because I didn't grow up with her. So the culture, the language, my mom. And yeah, and so I started high school, I graduated high school with honors, by the way, 4.0, 4.0 with honors. And then from there, I went to college. So I'm the first one in my family, my immediate and my extended family to attend college and graduate. And then after that, by the way, anyone in California, listen to California, shout out to Cal State Dominguez Hills. It's a public university. Thank God for, those universities because I graduated with no loans. And then after that, I decided to go to grad school to get my first master's in forensic psychology. That was not free. That I had to get student loans. And then after that, I started working at a nonprofit. And then after that, I went back to school, but just a little bit about myself, who I am. My identity is tied with who I am. My immigrant roots, my Mexican identity is big, huge to who I am.
And I'm like, somebody bring me the pañuelos because I know your story. Like, I've obviously was coaching you for a while. But even watching you right now step into your story and share it with everyone is like, okay, I always tell people, bring me the pañuelos. This time I brought my own pañuelo because I was like, this is going to be my client that we're going to be talking about and I want to be prepared. What a powerful testament, Martha, of what is possible when you believe that you are meant for more and when you don't let the obstacles define who you are. And as your mentor, I'm so proud of you because now we can have these conversations with everyone. And our hope is to also normalize these conversations, especially for the busy mujer who didn't grow up with their parents, or maybe the busy mujer who, yeah, maybe she grew up with her mom, but her mom wasn't available because she had to be working hard for money. And so I'm like, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, at the beginning of the call, you also mentioned that you started listening to the podcast and then you became inspired and you're like, well, Lucy's doing it. I want to do the fire journey, but can we talk about what was happening before with your finances? Like, where were you before our time together?
Where was I with my finances? Yes, a couple of things. So the big one, I had a huge student loan. I had $90,000 in student loan. And this is something that as first generation students, Latinas going to college, no one talks about it. Of course, my mom didn't talk about it. She has a second grade education. So for her, like this is new to her. But I knew I wanted to go to college, and I knew I wanted to, school was huge for me. For me, school, I knew that somehow, no one told me this, but I knew that college was like a ticket to uh, a better future, like for more financial stability. I just knew it. I don't know, no one told me about it, but when I got to this country, I just knew that I need to do good in school. I need to get good grades because it's going to take me somewhere. I just knew that. So it took me to go to, college. I graduated. And then from there, I'm like, okay, I graduated, but and then I didn't feel ready. Like I didn't have a good job. And then I went to grad school. And so now there are no scholarships for grad school. So I had to get student loans. And for my first master's, that was over $50,000, right? And then no one tells you, okay, yes, you get a student loan, but it doesn't mean, it means that you have to pay it back. It also means that interest. I didn't know anything about interest, and it was 5, 6, almost 7%, which I didn't read about that. I just knew that I wanted to go, but it also meant that it came with the student loan. So before you, it was a huge milestone. And then after that, I went to get my second master's. The first one, it was a private university, was very expensive. And then for the second one, I went to a public school. So it was a lot less, but it accumulated. So now I have two student loans, right? I didn't know what was the interest rate. So it has been accumulating. I was paying the minimum payments, the minimum, and I paid it for over years, but it was not making a dent. I was just making the minimum payment, and it was not making a dent. The balance was not reducing. So that was huge. Like, and I'm someone that does not like debt, because I feel like, oh my gosh, I want to get rid of it because it's not letting me move forward. It's like a big shadow over my head. I'm like, how do I get rid of it? So I was doing my best in trying to pay it off, making more than it was necessary sometimes, but it was not going away. So that was, I think, Lucy, before I started working with you, I think that was the big one. My student debt, because I don't have any car loans, I don't have anything. And also, before I met you, I knew that I wanted something more than just the regular paycheck, like the biweekly paycheck. And then somehow I came across your podcast, and then I started to listen to more, and then reading more, and then just things have been aligning. And I think I feel that I'm in a position where I'm on track to reach my long-term goal of reaching financial independence in 9 years.
And I said, and you are, because we look at the numbers,
Yeah.
because you get access to one of the tools that I provide for my clients, which is having a holistic approach to your entire wealth building portfolio. And I also want to give you credit because you were listening to the podcast and you were implementing a lot of the tips that I was sharing with all of you. You started diversifying your investments. You started like taking micro steps, which when you came to me and you applied for coaching, I was almost seeing like Lisa, like she's no joking around. Like she's really ready to go after the financial independence that a lot of us are afraid to, because we have this belief that, okay, if I start to believe that I deserve more, or that I want to become financially independent, I'm gonna let go of my cultural roots, which it's totally false. We know that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now I want to ask you about the biggest fears you had before applying for coaching, because you also took action of, I remember that I did a birthday sale and you were one of the few people that said, yes, I'm gonna take advantage of these birthday sale, and I'm gonna start working with this client, with this mujer. So were there's any mindset that was holding you from applying? Because I know there's a listener right now that is like, oh, I wanna apply, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's very real. And I think I will say yes, that the scarcity mindset. When it comes to, I think it has to do with our upbringing about fear around money, not there not being enough. money. And so the little that you have, or the ones that you have, you wanna hold on to it. You don't just wanna give it away. So my fear before I decided to work with you, by the way, it was the whole year. I listened to all the most of your podcasts for a whole year. I was reading, and I think I remember there was an episode about you talk about analysis paralysis or something like that, that like us, and that is me, like I feel like I need to read every single book, I need to read every single article, I need to have all everything checked before I can make that decision, especially around money. Like, okay, if I'm gonna make any moves around money, I want to be certain, 110% certain that I'm making the right decision. So to your question, I was like, before I make that decision, I feel like, okay, I wanna see what Luz is all about. I wanna make sure that she's real. I wanna make sure that she's legit. Let me listen to all her podcasts. Um, I was looking you up on your social media handles. Like, I just wanted to make sure that you were legit and that you knew what you were talking about. So that's why I did that for a whole year. Um, and then I was like, okay, if I make this investment, what like what would that bring me? Like, okay, what would happen? What if I'm just like wasting this amount of money and nothing, there is no return there? So I would say that was my biggest fear. Like, okay, I have this money, I will invest it, and what if there is no return? Like, what if nothing comes out of this? I think I will say that was my biggest fear. And also just I needed to triple check that you were legit and that you knew what you were talking about. But I think it comes with that fearful mentality growing up, that there is not enough money, and that whatever you have, you need to protect it, you need to secure it.
Yeah. And thank you for being so transparent. I think it also comes with how many times have we not seen, I don't know, like MLMs and things like that, that were like, okay, it happened to my tia, mi mama, mi abuela, so I don't want to be part of it, which is actually a fear that is legit. And so, yes, absolutely to doing the work, but also please don't wait a full year anymore to get coached, because we were able to work so much on the financial fears, the financial healing that was needed. And for those of you that are very much researchers, which as you were talking about this, I was like, your second master's probably did you so well when you were looking me up, because it's in forensic psychology, right? And so it's important that we say yes. I want to, of course, make sure that this person is going to give me a return on my investment, but also it's so important that we allow ourselves to be a beginners, which is something that I feel we learned together. That you didn't have to be doing all the research for the answers, because you had me and you were investing in my mentorship. Therefore, I was to give you the tools that you needed to save you time, which at the end of the day, that's one of the biggest takeaways from coaching, that you don't have to be spending time doing the research on things that I can give it to you right now. So thank you so much for that. Now, where are you now in terms of like your financial vision for the future? Because you talk about debt and you say, I don't have a good relationship with it. And I know that I coach you a lot of that. Like, if you want to advance for the next phase of your wealth building journey, you have to be comfortable leveraging debt.
Yes, yes. And this is something that I learned from you to do things about. So before there was just debt. There was no debt is bad, right? I want to get rid of it. I don't want to have it. And now, thanks to your support, I know that there is good debt and bad, right? Or, credit card. So that I don't have. So I have a mortgage. So I know that this is good because it's creating generational wealth. So I have a 5-year-old. So I know that this will go to my daughter, right? And setting her up for success. And also during the time that I was working with you, we discussed about buying an investment property, right? So that I feel comfortable about that. I don't feel like, oh my gosh, we're going to buy an investment property, but in the means that we have the mortgage. But the way I'm looking at it is an investment, and it's going to give me some money back. It's going to give us some money back. I'm thinking about my kiddo, right? Creating, so not just this house, that this casita, but also that one. It's for us, but also for her and future generations. So I feel good about that. That the other ones I don't have, so I don't have to worry about. But yes, I feel good. Actually, you shared a lot of good information about, the LLC, and so that's something that is in the works, but it will make it happen.
Okay, let me wrap this up for the listeners. So the reason why this strategy works well for you, it's because you already are taking advantage of all the other investments. So you're already maxing out your investment accounts that you have, the ones that save you taxes now, taxes later. So you are pretty much coming back to checking the boxes. You've already checked those boxes of I'm maxing the investment accounts, I'm taking advantage of the taxes, I'm leveraging investing to reduce my taxable income. And so the investment property was another idea for you to generate income, increase your portfolio, but also because you have a 5-year-old, give you the ability to essentially legally hire your nana through the business so you can start paying her a salary. And then that salary is in the form of, let me open a 529 for you or a Roth IRA, right? And we are making sure that you are following the right steps. And I cannot wait for you to do this, by the way, because it's such a great opportunity for your family, and there is more investments that you need to make, of course, right? And so what would you say to a listener that is thinking about coaching but is like, maybe it's not the right time right now?
If there is something in you that says, I mean, that if you've been following Lucy and there's something within you that has been saying about money and debt, I listen to your intuition, like listen to your inner self, because a lot of the times we ignore it, right? Like después, or this is not the right time, or don't do what I did, wait a whole year and to be ready, or to have all the information ready, to have all the research, all the information. You will not have it because there is so much information on the internet. There are so many books. I was listening to so many podcasts. Like at one point, it was overwhelming because I had too much information. I didn't know how to proceed forward. But Lucy, you will provide that information. I will tell you, Lucy, one thing specifically that was very helpful for me is in the investing portion of it. I also listened to your podcast about the brokerage account. I was like, what is that? I don't know. And ETFs and stocks and bonds. But because of your support, I have an account and it's working. I said it, I'm invested on a bi-weekly basis. So it's just doing this thing. I'm not even thinking about it. It's just automatically doing it. But because of your help in it, what I listened to it in your podcast, like I opened it. But I will say something in you has been saying about independence, financial independence, getting your debt under control. Go for it.
I'm just so proud of you, Martha. I cannot wait for you to continue on this financial freedom journey, which we're now calling Cash Libre journey, and just watching you step into the next version of yourself. Because back in December, which is when you and I started working together, this person right here didn't exist. She was just a vision. And now you can say, I met her and now I'm ready for the next version of myself. So thank you so much for coming to the show.